Stephen parked his car at the entrance to the Haynes family's villa. When Kim, Kyle, and Natalie got out of the car, a Hummer whizzed by. A young man stepped down from the driver's seat. He was wearing a pair of sunglasses and dressed in a military uniform. Kim recognized him with one glance. It was her cousin, Jason. He was Megan's son. Jason had left a deep impression on her since childhood. He'd bullied her more often than not when they were young. After graduating from high school, Jason decided to join the army. Jason took off his sunglasses and glanced at Kim.
Hey, Kim. It's been more than a year since we last saw each other. You haven't changed at all.
Megan and her husband, Mark, followed Jason out of the car.
Natalie, it's rare to see your whole family together, Megan called out. I wonder what made my brother-in-law decide to show up for once. Kyle flashed a smile.
I just arrived in Santa Ana today, so I'm here to visit your parents.
You just arrived today? Megan echoed mockingly. Then why did I hear that you came yesterday and immediately got yourself swept up in a $3 billion gambling debt? If I didn't know any better, you probably came to ask my parents for money. That's bad news for Mom and Dad, but compared to seeing you, they'll be much happier to see Jason. We have good news for them.
Let's go inside, Mark said. When he passed by, he gave Kyle a contemptuous look. Natalie's mood worsened after Megan and her family made a scene in front of the house. Kim's intention to establish her own company had already caused a huge commotion, and now Kyle's debt of $3 billion had spread like wildfire. It was highly likely that Gordon and Mavis would give their family a hard time today.
Let's go in,
Kyle said, acting as if their conversation with Megan and her family never happened.
By the way, I'm curious as to what they're so excited about.
What does their good news have to do with you?
Natalie said in annoyance. When the four of them entered the house, they heard Jason's arrogant voice coming from inside.
Grandma, Grandpa, I have good news for you two. I've been assigned to Santa Ana's military base.
That's not all, Megan added. A special training camp will be set up, and it'll be taught by the commander-in-chief personally. There are only 100 soldiers in the training camp, and they're the best of the best. Jason's on the list.
Mavis was thrilled. She held Jason's hand.
Doesn't that mean you'll see the commander-in-chief several times a week?
That's right, Grandma.
You know how to make my family proud.
Just then, Mavis caught sight of Stephen, Kim, Natalie, and Kyle entering the room.
Compared to a certain someone's husband, you're much more competent.
Stephen only smiled in response. This fueled Jason's pride. He held his head high, acting like he was at the top of the world. Kyle's presence was disregarded by everyone in the Haynes family. He tried to speak several times, but the family deliberately interrupted him. Just when Kyle was about to open his mouth again, Cohen interrupted him for the nth time. All right, Jason, you're now a soldier of the special training camp. With your connection to the commander-in-chief, I believe you'll be able to get us an invitation to the celebration.
Uncle Cohen, you work in the local government. Why would it be difficult for you to get one?
I do work in the government, but the participants must have the commander's approval. We've never met the commander before, so my position doesn't mean anything in this situation.
I see. In that case, leave it to me, Uncle,
Jason said confidently.
I'll make sure that Aunt Linda's family, Aunt Kelly's family, Aunt Gianna's family, and...
He stopped just when he was about to mention Natalie's family. Forget about them, Megan said. They're $3 billion in debt right now, and they still don't know how they're going to repay the loan. How could they be in the mood to attend a party? Gordon and Mavis gasped.
$3 billion?
Megan took the opportunity to tell them the rumors she'd heard. Gordon slammed the table and stood up.
Kyle, if you're here to borrow money from us, then you can forget it. We don't have a son-in-law like you.
Stephen spoke up when Kyle was feeling embarrassed.
Grandpa, think about your age. It's not good for your health to get so worked up. It was just a $3 billion gambling debt. It was no problem at all. We took care of it already. Also, for the welcoming celebration, my family can participate whenever we want, so there's no need to trouble Jason to get an invitation for us.
Stephen, you've been in Santa Ana for months now, but you're always bragging like that, Megan said. Are you ever going to change? What makes you think you can participate whenever you want to? You don't have the authority.
I'm only telling it like it is. If I'm not there, the celebration won't begin.
Stephen was the commander-in-chief, and if he didn't show up, the celebration would be pointless. But they didn't know that. Natalie was already embarrassed by Kyle's gambling incident yesterday, but Stephen's ridiculous claims made her even more ashamed.
Stephen, can you tone it down for once? Do you think you're the commander-in-chief or something?
I'm telling the truth.
Natalie sighed.
All right, I believe you. Now please shut your mouth. I have a suggestion, Mavis said. Natalie, you can't say we never gave you a chance. If your family is invited to the celebration, then we'll let bygones be bygones.
To Natalie, this was the same as driving them into a corner. With their status, how would it be possible for them to receive an invitation? Without waiting for Natalie to reply, Stephen answered in her stead.
Okay, we agree.
Natalie, Kyle, and Kim looked at each other before pulling Stephen aside.
Why are you answering for me?
Exactly. You're just a freeloading son-in-law. Who gave you the right to speak? Mom, Dad, don't worry. We'll be attending the celebration.
Natalie scoffed.
Who do you think we are? Distinguished guests of the commander-in-chief? Stop joking around.
Mom, Stephen's just thinking of our family, Kim said. Natalie's expression darkened when she thought about how Stephen's empty promise would turn their family into a laughingstock once again.
That's ridiculous. I think he's trying to embarrass us on purpose.
Kim didn't say anything. She was wondering how Stephen would be able to get an invitation for their family. Later in the evening, when everyone was having dinner in the courtyard, Stephen made an excuse to go out for a while and disappeared. Megan and her family mocked him. They were sure that Stephen had run away. When Kim gave Stephen a call, she found that his phone was turned off, which served as a confirmation of Megan and her family's accusation. Natalie, Kyle, and Kim lost all face. Stephen had actually gone to the military base to find Xavier and discuss the special training camp. Mr. Adams, 100 soldiers for the training camp have been selected. This is the list. Stephen took the list of names from Xavier.
The reason I asked you to set up the special training camp in Santa Ana's military base is to make preparations for the upcoming battle. Recently, there's one country that's been causing trouble for us. It's planning to form an alliance with its neighboring countries to invade the U.S. It's similar to what happened 6 years ago. We have to prepare for the worst. A training camp will be set up in each of the major military bases across the country, starting with Santa Ana's.
While Stephen was explaining, he skimmed through the list. He paused when he came across Jason's name. Mr. Adams, is there an issue with Jason?
No, I just wanted to ask if he was selected based on his competency.
Of course. Every soldier on the list is an elite amongst elites.
That's good. Did you send out the notice already? I'll be giving a lecture to the participants of the training camp tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, I have, Xavier said. The special training camp in Santa Ana was the first stage of preparations. It would be held under the personal guidance of the commander-in-chief. Each and every one of the Army's higher-ups, including Xavier, were aware of how important this training camp was. The night passed in the blink of an eye, and the morning of the lecture arrived.
Dad, Mom, the commander-in-chief will be giving a lecture today at 10 for the training camp's opening ceremony, Jason explained. Each soldier can bring 2 family members to visit. You 2 should come with me.
Does that mean we'll have a chance to meet the commander? Mark asked excitedly.
Of course.
Megan was delighted.
It's all thanks to your hard work, Jason. Meeting the commander in person is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
When the 3 of them left the house, they ran into Stephen.
Where are you going this early in the morning? Could it be that you're heading to the military base to attend the training camp's opening ceremony?
Yeah, I am. Stephen said. You never miss a chance to brag, do you?
I'm not bragging. If it weren't for me, the opening ceremony wouldn't have even been held.
Mom, ignore him, Jason said. He's delusional. He thinks he's the commander or something. The three of them got in the car with Jason in the driver's seat. He drove off without sparing Stephen another glance. There were only 100 soldiers in the special training camp, but because family members were invited, the training grounds were bustling with chatter and excitement. It was a great honor for a soldier to be selected for the training camp under the personal tutelage of the commander-in-chief. Any parent would want to witness their child's achievements with their own eyes. The soldiers stood at the front, while the parents sat towards the back and watched. At this time, the crowd was in an uproar. The commander's here! A green Jeep pulled up to the field. The door to the driver's seat opened, and Dennis, who was dressed in a major general's uniform, stepped out. His charisma, toned figure, dazzling military rank, and attractive appearance caused the parents to engage in deep conversation. He must be the commander-in-chief, Megan said. It's a shame that we're not allowed to bring our phones in here. I would have taken a picture. What are you worried about? Jason's part of the training camp. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future, Mark said. A parent sitting nearby corrected them. That's Major General Dennis Lucero. He's one of the 4 great generals who served under the commander-in-chief. Back then, he accompanied the commander and achieved a glorious record of annihilating more than 40 opposing countries. Really? Then where's the commander? I heard that the 4 great generals follow the commander around like a shadow. Wherever the 4 great generals are, the commander is bound to be nearby. I guess that the commander-in-chief is probably in the same car. He just hasn't stepped out yet. Dennis looked around before getting back in and driving to the far end of the parking lot. He got out of the car again and walked to the back seat. He put one hand on the roof and opened the car door with the other. All of the parents were looking forward to seeing the commander-in-chief in person. Unfortunately, he only left them with the view of his back after getting out of the car. Mark felt like he looked familiar. Hey, don't you think the commander looks like Stephen? When Mark pointed out that the commander's back looked familiar, Megan found herself thinking the same thing. Could Stephen really be the commander-in-chief? Megan was shocked by her own thoughts. She shook her head to clear her mind. Are you serious? Stephen doesn't know how to do anything except freeload off of Kim's family. If he's the commander, then the sun will rise from the west tomorrow. That's true, Mark said. Maybe I was mistaken because their backs are a little similar. You must have gotten it wrong. Comparing Stephen to the commander is simply an insult to the commander himself. This is Santa Ana's military base. Be careful when you talk. Jason's here, remember? Yeah, you're right. Stephen and Dennis headed to Xavier's office. Is everyone ready? Stephen asked. Xavier saluted him. Yes, the preparations are complete. There are 10 minutes left. The ceremony will begin at 10 sharp. 10 minutes passed, and Captain Floyd walked to the front and gave a short introductory speech. The commander-in-chief will be here shortly to give a lecture. Because of confidentiality reasons, only the 100 soldiers from the special training camp are allowed to see him. At this time, we'd like to ask the parents to leave. Mark was disappointed, but Megan didn't think it was a big deal. If we can't see him, then we can't see him. What's more important is that Jason will be able to meet him. With the parents' departure, the training camp's opening ceremony officially began. The first item on the agenda was Xavier's opening statement. Then, it was time for the long-awaited commander-in-chief to make his appearance. The 100 soldiers straightened their backs, anticipating the commander's arrival. No soldier didn't admire the commander. After all, only those who achieved the impossible deserved the title of commander-in-chief. Stephen, who had changed into a commander's uniform, walked on stage. His sharp gaze swept across every soldier's face. Jason was standing in the front row, and he was shocked beyond words when he realized who the commander was. When Jason made eye contact with Stephen, he felt like his heart was about to jump out of his chest. His head spun, his mind raced, and his heart thundered as he recalled how he and his family had humiliated Stephen yesterday. Before Stephen could say anything, Jason was on the ground. "What's going on?" Xavier called out when he noticed the commotion. "Sir, he passed out. I think he had a heat stroke," one of the soldiers replied. "Bring him to the infirmary," Xavier instructed. "I don't know how he selected to be part of the training camp with this kind of physical fitness. Who chose him?" It was a major mistake to let this happen during such an important occasion. Captain Floyd took responsibility. "Sir, it was my fault." "This is a serious mistake. What's his name?" Xavier asked. "He's Jason. 3 months ago, he was assigned here from another military base." Xavier recognized the name. He thought back to yesterday's conversation with Stephen. The commander-in-chief was indeed talented in assessing the potential of others. He must have known that Jason's physique wasn't up to par, which was why he'd asked about him. Xavier could only blame himself for being slow and not catching the hidden meaning behind Stephen's words. Of course, Stephen wasn't aware of Xavier's spiraling thoughts. After Jason was taken to the infirmary, he proceeded with the lecture. "Today marks the first day of the special training camp. After graduation, you will be dispatched to the front lines to carry out combat missions with me." Stephen scanned the soldiers before continuing. "I will guide you through the entire process. Captain Floyd will be in charge of daily training sessions. Those who excel during the training camp will have an opportunity to join the Armored Cavalry Battalion under my command and will become my personal guards." Fighting spirit radiated from the 99 soldiers. Becoming the personal guard of the commander-in-chief was the greatest honor. After the opening ceremony, Stephen taught the 99 soldiers their first lesson, which broadened their perspective on the life of a soldier on the front lines. After a busy day, Stephen returned to the Haynes family's villa to prepare dinner for Kim and her family. While he was in the kitchen, Megan and Mark went up to him. Megan had a smug look on her face. "Hey, you're here. Stephen, I remember that before we left this morning, you told us that you were also going to attend the training camp ceremony, but we didn't see you." "I guess he was bragging as usual," Mark said. "What else is new? Unlike him, we had the opportunity to see the commander up close." The more Megan spoke, the more enthusiastic she was. "Is that so?" Stephen turned around, and Megan froze. His sharp gaze made it feel like he'd seen through her lies. She feigned composure. "Of course." 2 soldiers interrupted them when they carried Jason inside the house. Megan rushed over when she saw that her son was unconscious. "What's going on?" "He lost consciousness from heat stroke during the opening ceremony. Our military base determined that he's not qualified to join the training camp," one of the soldiers explained. Mark and Megan looked at each other in confusion. Their son wasn't that delicate. After the 2 soldiers left, Jason slowly regained consciousness as Megan and Mark frantically called his name. Before they could ask him what happened, his eyes opened, and he saw Stephen looming over him. Jason was so startled that his vision went black once again. Stephen couldn't help but shake his head. As expected, Jason's physical fitness was lacking. Megan and Mark were no longer in the mood to make fun of Stephen. They quickly brought Jason back to his room after he woke up. They didn't dare to tell Gordon and Mavis that Jason had been kicked out of the training camp, so they lied and said that Jason was on vacation for the holidays. In this way, they were able to continue enjoying the compliments from the family. In the eyes of the Haynes family, 2 of their members were soldiers. Gianna's future son-in-law, Edward, had been recruited as the commander-in-chief's personal guard, and Megan's son, Jason, had been selected to attend the special training camp taught by the commander-in-chief himself. Megan and Mark couldn't let Jason be outdone by Edward. 2 days later, Edward was on vacation for the holidays and returned to the Haynes family's villa to stay for a short while. In regards to future prospects, Jason and Edward were the top contenders, and Gordon and Mavis were thrilled to have them home at the same time. Linda's family and Kelly's family were already making plans to curry favor with Gianna's family and Megan's family. Natalie's family hadn't come downstairs yet. As for Edward and Jason, they never looked forward to family gatherings when the two of them were present. They had nothing in common, so they could only make small talk about the military since they were both soldiers.
Jason, congratulations on being selected for the training camp. You'll have opportunities to see the commander more than anyone else. I'm kind of envious, Edward said. I should be envious of you, Edward. You're the commander's personal guard, Jason replied. Jason felt bitter when he recalled that he'd been stripped of his qualification to participate in the training camp, and he felt especially dejected when he thought about the commander-in-chief's identity. Edward fell silent. Being the commander's personal guard was the Haynes family's misunderstanding, so he could only bite the bullet and say, "The truth is, the commander prefers to keep a low profile, and even though I'm his personal guard, I rarely have the chance to protect him."
He really is low profile, Jason said wryly. Stephen was so low profile that everyone thought he was just a freeloading, good-for-nothing husband. Cohen brought another topic up. I heard the arrangements for the celebration to welcome the commander-in-chief have been completed. Kelly hurriedly took over.
Really? With Jason's status, getting an invitation from the commander will be an easy task.
She turned to Megan and Mark with an expectant expression.
Isn't that right?
Megan and Mark didn't want to lie, but they couldn't tell her the truth because it was too shameful. They could only nod and agree. Gordon was also anticipating the invitation.
Cohen, you work for the local government. I'm sure you have access to the list of invitees. Take it out and show everyone that the Haynes family was invited.
The list was revealed to the public. It can be checked online. Cohen took out his phone and searched for the city's official website. Megan's heart pounded when their lie was about to be exposed. Cohen, I don't think there's a need to confirm. It's a given that our family is on the list. It's necessary, Cohen insisted. Having our Haynes family on the list is an honorable achievement. We should check and see with our own eyes. Megan was on the verge of tears. I don't think we need to. Cohen looked up suspiciously. You're acting weird. It's like you're trying to stop us from seeing the list.
Of course she doesn't want you to check. Because their son, Jason, passed out during the special training camp's opening ceremony and was sent back home. He's not a soldier anymore.
Megan and Mark had been dreading Natalie's family's appearance all morning, and their concerns had become reality. Upon hearing Kyle's remark, the entire Haynes family turned to stare at Megan, Mark, and Jason. Megan, is this true? Mavis asked. Her pride for Megan's family had been replaced by displeasure. Megan steeled her heart, gritted her teeth, and said, He's talking nonsense. Jason's still a soldier. Mark defended Jason as well. They would figure something out after getting through this hurdle. Yeah, he's lying with a straight face. Don't believe him.
Whether I'm lying or not, you'll know once you check the list, Kyle said with a smirk.
This was the most entertaining situation he'd encountered since he stepped foot in Santa Ana.
He's right. We should take a look at the list,
Gordon said. Megan, Mark, and Jason held their breaths. Cohen clutched his phone with a serious look on his face. He carefully looked over the list, afraid that he would miss their family's name. The richest man in Santa Ana, Andy Harrell, the CEO of Grazing Corporation, Austin Adams, the Commerce Guild. Cohen paused before reading further. The CEO of Haynes Industries, Gordon Haynes, and his wife Mavis Haynes. Megan and Mark looked up in surprise. Mark snatched Cohen's phone, and his eyes zeroed in on Gordon and Mavis's names. The Haynes family was on the list. Mark almost cried tears of joy. The commander still values our son. Megan nodded, blinking back tears. Yes, he does. Jason glanced at Stephen nervously. It was Mark's turn to be smug. Kyle, you heard what Cohen said, didn't you? Our family is on the list, and it's all thanks to Jason. Kyle was dumbfounded. But that's impossible. He'd witnessed two soldiers carrying an unconscious Jason back home 2 days ago. Why is it impossible?
If you ask me, you're just jealous of Jason's achievements, Mark shot back. Jason grew frantic when Mark started talking back to the commander-in-chief's father-in-law. Just when he was about to stop him, a sharp glare from Stephen forced the words back into his throat. Only then did Jason remember the rules and regulations of Santa Ana's military base. He was glad that at this crucial moment, he hadn't revealed Stephen's identity as the commander. Their subtle exchange didn't escape Edward's notice. He realized that the soldier who had apparently fainted from heat stroke in front of the commander-in-chief during the training camp's opening ceremony was Jason. The shock from discovering Stephen's real identity was too much for Jason's small heart, and he passed out as a result. As for why Gordon and Mavis's names were on the list, Edward didn't even need to speculate. It was definitely because of Stephen. Kyle couldn't make sense of the situation no matter how hard he tried. That has to be a lie. Mavis slammed the table and stood up.
That's enough. Don't look down on other people's achievements just because you're incompetent.
Megan supported her. A gambling addict and a freeloading piece of trash who brings shame to our family. Jason was filled with anxiety when his mother called the commander-in-chief a piece of trash, but he could only hold it in. The anxious look on his face worried the Haynes family. In their eyes, the only reason they received an invitation was entirely thanks to Jason. Today was supposed to be a lively gathering, but this incident ruined the Haynes family's mood. Gordon and Mavis blacklisted Natalie's family and told them not to come over for a month. Although this wasn't the most desirable outcome, Kim took advantage of her free time and focused her attention on establishing her company. In addition to the $500 million from the bank, the Wyvern Group had become her largest shareholder with a $1 billion investment. A starting capital of $1.5 billion was more than enough for Kim to set up her company. It would be named Lunaria. Since the Wyvern Group was the largest shareholder, Jasmine helped out a lot. She even teased Kim and said that maybe Lunaria would soon become a leading enterprise in Santa Ana. Natalie and Kyle were especially delighted at Lunaria's rapid development. Natalie frequently stopped by the office to help Kim. Kim's heart clenched when she saw Natalie cleaning the office and purchasing supplies. "Mom, you don't have to do this. I've hired someone to do these things for me."
No way. This is only the beginning of your company. Save your money. I'm an expert when it comes to cleaning. Speaking of which, where did Stephen go? I haven't seen him since you started your company.
He has his own things to attend to. Kim thought for a moment and said, "Mom, I have some documents I need to get notarized. Can you take care of it for me?" She searched her desk for a folder and passed it to Natalie.
Sure, I'll be right back.
With the documents in hand, Natalie headed to the Public Service Bureau near the company. There was a long queue, so she had no choice but to wait at the back of the line. Approximately 1 hour later, it was finally her turn. Just as Natalie was about to hand the folder to the clerk behind the window, a man cut in line and slipped his documents to the clerk.
"What are you doing? I've been in line for an hour,"
Natalie said angrily. "I'm a diplomat."
"And even diplomats need to wait in line."
To Natalie's surprise, the clerk pushed her documents aside and took the man's documents.
"Hey, I came first,"
Natalie argued.
"Have you ever heard of first come, first served?"
"I'm sorry, miss. This is Mr. Davis. He's a diplomat, and he's currently visiting our city," the clerk replied. Natalie had always been stubborn. She wouldn't let this go so easily.
"Do diplomats have special privileges like cutting in line at a notary office?"
The people online tried to talk her out of it. "It's better to let it go. Just consider yourself unlucky. You shouldn't mess with people like him. It won't end well for you." The man flashed a triumphant smile when everyone supported him, but Natalie refused to back down.
"I was here before him, so you should handle my paperwork first."
David shoved Natalie aside. "Get out of the way." He was much stronger than her, and she fell over from his push. Natalie rubbed her sore legs as she reached into her bag for her phone.
"How dare you push me? I'm calling the police. I don't believe you're immune to our country's laws just because you're a diplomat."
Davis kicked the phone out of Natalie's hand. You want to report me? I'd like to see whether the police side with you or with me when they arrive." The onlookers felt sympathy for Natalie, but no one stepped forward and stood up for her. However, someone did secretly record a video and upload it online. At this time, Dennis was scrolling through his phone when he came across a video of Natalie being pushed around. He quickly took his feet off the desk and hurried over to Stephen to show him the video. "Mr. Adams, you should see this." As soon as Stephen watched the video, he dropped everything and rushed to the Public Service Bureau. Natalie was sitting on the floor, inspecting her arms for any bruises. He hurried over to help her up. Natalie never had a good impression of him, but she was still his mother-in-law. Stephen made sure that Natalie was steady on her feet before walking up to Davis and punching him in the face. The crowd froze. No one expected Stephen to hit him. Davis was in a daze, wondering what just happened. Natalie was elated. This was the first time Stephen had stood up for her. "Nice punch." Stephen took the documents from her hands and placed them back in front of the window. "It's only proper to line up if you want to get things done. She was first, so notarize her documents." The clerk didn't seem to be afraid of him, even though he'd just punched Davis. "I'm sorry, we're done for the day. Please come back tomorrow." Stephen was annoyed when the clerk ignored him and started taking care of Davis's documents. "Didn't you say you're off work? Why are you handling his paperwork?" The clerk looked up and gave him a sympathetic look. "It's our policy to take care of diplomats. Instead of worrying about him, I suggest you worry about yourself. I'm afraid that you're going to be sued for beating him up." "Is that so? Call your boss. I want to talk to him." "You want to talk to our boss? Who do you think you are?" "Is this how you treat your clients? Don't worry about who I am. Just know that I'll be pursuing today's incident to the end. We live in a society built on laws. A diplomat is no different from our country's citizens. I don't care about how it works in their country, but as long as they're here, they will abide by our rules." Natalie, who had always looked down on him, felt a surge of pride. "Well said, Stephen. From your tone, it sounds like you're our boss. If you were really that influential, your mother-in-law wouldn't have had to wait in line for an hour." Stephen reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "It's a waste of time talking to you. I'll talk to your boss." The clerk was amused. "Are you planning on calling our boss? He's busy. He doesn't have time for you commoners." Stephen ignored him and gave Jack a call. "Contact the Director of Public Services and have him return to the office." Stephen only said a few words, and he hadn't explained the situation, but Jack took action immediately. In less than a minute, he found the reason why Stephen wanted to meet with the Director of Public Services. His mother-in-law had been beaten in public. This wouldn't end well for the culprit. Jack made an emergency call to the Director of Public Services, Caleb. Caleb was currently out on an investigation, but one call had made him break out into a cold sweat. His employee had assaulted the Commander-in-Chief's mother-in-law. Caleb was no longer in the mood to investigate. He announced that he needed to head back and handle urgent matters. He delegated the rest of the tasks to his assistant and had him take his place. Caleb hurried back to the office. The clerk was surprised to see his boss return so soon. He glanced at Stephen, and a bad feeling came over him. Even though the Commander-in-Chief was standing right in front of him, Caleb was careful not to act too courteously. Because his identity was a secret, he had no choice but to act businesslike. "What's going on? I heard that something happened, so I rushed back." Stephen gestured to Davis. "That man assaulted my mother-in-law." If it were anyone else, Caleb would have advised them to settle the matter peacefully and leave. But who was the man in front of him? An existence that went beyond one's imagination. "Where do you think this is? How dare you assault one of our clients in public?" The clerk had yet to realize the situation he was in, and he wanted to get on Davis's good side. "Mr. Caleb, that's not what happened. This lady disrespected Mr. Davis, and he only acted out of self-defense." Stephen laughed. "Self-defense?" He turned to face the staff in the office who were watching the commotion. "Everyone here is a witness. Tell us, was it really self-defense?" No one answered. It wasn't worth it to offend the clerk for a stranger. He held a higher position than them. The clerk was smug when his colleagues played mute. Mr. Caleb, what I said was the truth. Davis subtly gave the clerk a thumbs up.
Whether it's the truth or not, we'll know once we check the cameras.
Stephen turned to Caleb.
Are there any security cameras in the lobby?
Caleb silently cursed the clerk for dragging the situation out. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. Yes, we do. He ordered the security guard to bring out the footage from the time when the incident occurred. The clerk looked at Caleb in shock. He'd obviously known that checking the security cameras would overturn his statement, but he hadn't expected Caleb to pursue the situation to this extent. The footage was sent over, and the truth was revealed. Davis had cut in line, and Natalie had called him out on it. He ignored her and shoved her to the floor. Caleb flew into a rage after watching the video. He pointed at the clerk and said, "You scum! Not only did you lie, but you also turned a blind eye to a crime that took place right in front of you. You're fired!" The clerk had spent a lot of money and used his connections to get his position, but all of that was a wasted effort with a few words from Caleb. Caleb turned to his other employees. "As for Mr. Davis, I see that his information has already been processed. Delete him from the system and have him line up. When it's his turn, we'll take care of his documents then. In addition, he publicly assaulted one of our clients. This is a serious matter." Caleb called the police station to report the assault. The police arrived, and after some investigation, they discovered that this wasn't the first time. Davis wasn't a diplomat. He'd pretended to be one to commit all kinds of crimes.
Detain Davis for 3 days, fine him $100,000, and send him out of the country within 7 days,
Stephen instructed. Because of Stephen's identity, the police didn't question him. With his input, the case was soon closed. Yeah. Okay, see you then. Thomas hung up and noticed the confused look on Hugo's face. I heard the Miss Kim's beautiful. Wouldn't it be a pity if we stopped working together? Hugo nodded in understanding. You're brilliant, Mr. Thomas. After wrapping up her discussion with Thomas, Kim turned to Stephen, who was sitting next to her. I'm meeting clients from Sanson Corporation tonight, so I need to organize the documents this afternoon. Amy called me before and told me she'll be doing an internship soon. She asked me to prepare some information for her. I'm not free right now, so could you give it to her for me? No problem. Stephen took the internship documents from Kim and headed back to Los Angeles to meet up with Amy at her university. Amy was disappointed when she saw that it was Stephen. On the other hand, Amy's best friend, Vanessa, greeted him excitedly and chattered nonstop like a canary. Amy started wondering who was Stephen's sister-in-law, her or Vanessa. When Vanessa strolled around campus with Stephen, many students turned to stare. As one of the top 10 beautiful girls at Los Angeles University, Vanessa had always been popular. The number of male students who'd pursued her was enough to form a line from their dorms to the entrance of the school. Vanessa had rejected all of them. She was rarely seen walking around campus with a man. As such, Vanessa and Stephen's little stroll attracted the attention of most students nearby. They whispered to each other and sent messages to their friends. This was exactly what Vanessa wanted. Recently, a foreign exchange student had taken a fancy to her and often came to harass her with no shame. He even announced that Vanessa was his girlfriend. Stephen's arrival had given Vanessa a shield. Due to Stephen's mysterious identity, Vanessa had a good impression of him. Meanwhile, Amy followed them from behind with a pout. A stack of documents was in her arms. Vanessa, stop right there. The three of them turned around. A male student wearing a taekwondo uniform was standing a short distance away, and he looked furious. What do you want, Archie? Vanessa asked. Archie pointed at Stephen with a displeased look on his face. Who is he? Can't you tell? Vanessa leaned closer to Stephen and said with a smile, This is my boyfriend. What are you talking about? You're my woman. No one is allowed to have you. Archie, stop talking nonsense. Their brief exchange was enough for Stephen to grasp the situation. He whispered in Vanessa's ear,
"That was sly of you. You're using me as a shield?"
"You're not a shield. You're my boyfriend now." Stephen sighed.
"All right, yes, I'm her boyfriend."
Archie didn't back down. "Then let's fight, you and me, one-on-one." Classmates, Howard, came over.
"Hey, don't go overboard. He looks frail and weak. How could you ask him to be your opponent? Don't cause any more trouble at school." "Okay," Archie pointed at Howard. "Take his place and fight me. This is the perfect opportunity to show the school my taekwondo skills."
Howard's father was a government official. It seemed like Archie was being serious, but he wasn't worried. Archie had always been mindful of his family background. Why would it be different this time? Quite a few students had gathered to watch. Howard planned to take this opportunity to show off his authority as a student union officer and to impress Vanessa and Amy.
"I accept," Howard said. "If you lose, then let this go."
He gave Archie a meaningful look, trying to subtly tell him that he was trying to find a way to get him out of this mess. However, Archie didn't get the hit.
"All right, but if I win, Vanessa belongs to me."
Since Archie was taking this as a real challenge, Howard had no choice but to go along with it.
"You have to get through me first."
Howard took off his jacket and gave it to Amy. He stepped forward and took a fighting stance. Archie assumed a taekwondo posture. The black belt around his waist was eye-catching. Both of them lunged at the same time. After exchanging 3 blows, it was clear that Archie had the upper hand. Howard took a step back to catch his breath. He was confused as to why Archie was coming at him with his full strength. While Howard was trying to make sense of things, Archie charged forward again, forcing him to retreat backwards. Archie didn't let up. He took advantage of his momentum and continued his pursuit. With a few kicks, Howard was knocked to the ground. Archie didn't plan on letting Howard off the hook. He got up on top of him and raised a fist. Howard held his arms up to block the onslaught of punches.
"I surrender, so stop!"
Only then did Archie pull back.
"Tell everyone here that the martial arts they teach in this country is trash. Taekwondo is the strongest martial artist in the world."
Howard was stunned. How could he admit something like that in public? Archie broke into a grin.
"If you don't say it out loud, be prepared to be beaten black and blue. Do you want to be humiliated in front of so many students?"
Howard lifted his hands in surrender.
Okay, I'll say it. Taekwondo is the strongest martial art in the world."
Archie laughed.
"That's right, but you seem to have forgotten the other part. The martial arts they teach in the U.S. are trash. Say it."
This time, Howard shut his mouth. He really couldn't say that out loud.
"You won't say it? All right, then."
Archie raised his fist, but before he could swing, a hand grabbed his arm.
"Who said our country's martial arts are trash?"
Archie looked up. It was Stephen. He was surprised by how strong his grip was.
"If you ask me, your taekwondo skills are the only trash here,"
Stephen said. Archie climbed off of Howard and got to his feet.
"Are you looking down on my martial arts? Fine, if you have the courage, then fight me." "Sure, I'll let you experience the strength of our country's martial arts."
Amy held Stephen back.
"You can't. You won't be able to beat him. He's a 4th-degree black belt. Our school has a taekwondo club, but there aren't many who can catch up to him."
On the other hand, Vanessa cheered Stephen on. She had seen his true strength with her own eyes. Stephen smiled and patted Amy's shoulder.
"It'll be fine. Just stay back and watch."
He waved at Archie.
"Come on."
Archie was annoyed that Stephen didn't see him as a challenge. He rushed forward and made the first move. It was a finishing move that would end the fight in a split second. At least, that's what Archie thought would happen. His deadly attack lost all its strength. Not only did it have no effect, but Stephen had also taken him down in one move. Archie hadn't even seen how Stephen had done it. He jumped off the ground and charged at him once more. It was the same result as last time.
"Do you understand now? Our country's martial arts and taekwondo are strong. It's your martial arts that are lacking.
Stephen's words embarrassed the surrounding members of the Taekwondo club. Just a moment ago, they were cheering Archie on during his match with Howard. Archie clenched his teeth, stood up, and charged at Stephen again. This time, a dagger was in his hand. Just as he was about to plunge the dagger into Stephen's chest, the blade was stopped by 2 of his fingers. Stephen flicked the dagger out of Archie's hand and flung it downwards. Archie cried out. The dagger had stabbed him in his thigh, and blood soaked through his uniform. Stephen looked at him with disdain.
You asked for it. This is what happens when you play dirty.
He glanced at the members of the Taekwondo club.
What are you guys waiting for? Shouldn't you send him to the infirmary?
The Taekwondo club members snapped out of their shock and ran over to help Archie up. He was a foreign exchange student and the president of the Taekwondo club. If anything happened to him, they would be in deep trouble. Archie's father, Thomas, the future vice president of Sanson Corporation, was currently discussing business matters with Kim. Hugo was also at the table. Thomas's phone rang.
What? Archie was beaten up at school. Who did it?
Someone named Stephen Adams, the person on the other end of the line replied. The room was quiet, and Kim overheard their conversation. Were they talking about her husband? Thanks to Andy, Thomas already had a bad impression of Kim, so he was planning on using today's meeting to call off their collaboration. He had been concerned about coming up with a legitimate reason, but at this critical moment, he received this phone call, and an idea struck him. Thomas put on a sincere expression. Miss Kim, I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid I won't be able to continue our partnership. Why is that? Kim asked anxiously. Sanson Corporation had been her first client, and she wanted to hold on to them. Do you need me to explain more? Your husband injured my son at Los Angeles University. Even though I admire you, I'm afraid that a business relationship between us would be difficult to maintain. Mr. Thomas, perhaps there's been some misunderstanding. My husband isn't that kind of person. Are you trying to say that your husband wasn't the culprit? That's not what I meant. Thomas stood up impatiently. That's enough. I'm going to the hospital to check on my son. Kim thought for a moment before catching up to him. I'll come with you. Thomas didn't refuse. This was exactly what he wanted. Kim had fallen right into his trap. At the hospital, Archie was lying on the bed. It wasn't just his thigh that was wrapped in bandages. His entire body was wrapped in thick gauze, making him look miserable. Dad, you have to avenge me. Someone beat me up at school. Tell me what happened. It was Stephen Adams. I'd never seen him before, but when he came on campus, he thought my girlfriend was pretty and flirted with her right in front of me. Then he hit me and made me look like this. Plus, he wanted me to say that Taekwondo is trash. Archie's narration was vivid and filled with twisted facts. Thomas turned around. Miss Kim, did you hear that? Not only did your husband seriously injure my son, but he also humiliated his martial arts. I don't think there's any possibility of cooperation between us anymore. Furthermore, I will immediately call the police and have your husband take legal responsibility. I want you all to understand that just because we're not from the U.S. doesn't mean we can be treated this way. Mr. Thomas, please don't do that. I can compensate for your losses. Will that be all right? Thomas laughed. Do you think I'm someone who needs money? Then what are you suggesting? That's easy. Thomas looked Kim up and down with concealed lust in his eyes. You have a pretty face and a good figure. You're beautiful. If you're willing to accompany me for a night, then I'll forget what happened to my son today. And I assure you our partnership will continue. Kim put some distance between her and Thomas. That's ridiculous. Archie spoke up. Dad, I also want her to accompany me for a night. Okay, no problem. They conversed as if Kim wasn't there. She was disgusted. Don't even think about it. You two are worse than scum. From now on, Lunaria will no longer be working with Sanson Corporation. Miss Kim, I hope you'll consider this carefully. If you don't agree to our request, then we can only call the police and have them deal with your husband. Look at how injured my son is. Your husband can be sentenced to 8 or 10 years. Kim turned around and headed to the door. I believe in my husband. He's not that kind of person. I'll find out what really happened. Kim left the hospital and found Stephen at Amy's school. She told Stephen everything that Thomas had said.
How dare he make that kind of request? Looks like this will be the end of his company.
What did you say? Kim asked.
Nothing. Don't worry, that's not what happened.
Stephen told her the actual truth. Kim became even angrier. I didn't expect them to be so shameless and despicable. Let's find the students who were watching and ask them to testify for us.
Good idea.
Stephen and Kim went to find Amy and Vanessa before anyone else. It was a guarantee that they would testify for Stephen. But because they were familiar with him, their testimony wouldn't be as credible. Amy and Vanessa went to look for Howard. To their surprise, the student who had always acted righteously lied with a straight face.
Archie's always been a good student. He would never do something like that.
Howard pointed at Stephen.
He flirted with Vanessa and even beat Archie up.
Are you seriously trying to bend the truth right now? Amy demanded.
No, what I said is the truth.
It was clear that Howard wouldn't be changing his statement, so Amy and Vanessa found a few other students who were watching from the sidelines. To their disappointment, their statements were exactly the same as Howard's. What the hell was going on?
Is everything ready? Thomas asked. Don't worry, Hugo said. We've dealt with most of the students who were watching the fight, including Howard. They won't speak carelessly. Their statements will indicate that Kim's husband was violent and aggressive towards a student. Good. Kim won't be able to turn this one around. That stupid woman rejected me in front of my son. I'll make her regret it. By the way, did the police make their move yet? Yes, they're on their way. I have a feeling that Kim will be coming soon to beg you to spare her husband. Amy and Vanessa were confused by the similar testimonies amongst the spectators. Someone bribed or threatened them before we came, Stephen said. Looks like the other party works fast. What should we do? Kim asked. If the police come and these students testify, wouldn't you be locked up?
That's perfect, Amy joked. If Stephen goes to jail, you can marry someone else. Find a man who's 100 times better than him.
Vanessa nodded. I'll take him when he comes out. This isn't the time for jokes, Kim snapped. I'm not getting a divorce. Kim, don't worry, I'll be fine, Stephen said. While they were talking, a police car drove up to them. Several police officers walked up to Stephen. The lead police officer said, Stephen, you're suspected of assaulting a student. Please come with us. This is the arrest warrant. He ordered his colleagues to restrain him. I'll go, Stephen said calmly. He followed the police officers to the car, and they drove him to the police station. In the interrogation room, the police officers surrounded Stephen with batons in their hands. They looked like they were ready to gang up on him at any minute. It was clear that this wouldn't be a normal interrogation. The door opened, and Archie walked in. Compared to his appearance at the hospital, there were now only bandages wrapped around his thigh. Archie dragged his injured leg and limped over. Archie smiled smugly. Never thought this would happen to you, right? The police officers didn't have a reaction, even though an unrelated individual was in the room. They were clearly in cahoots. Stephen was genuinely surprised. You're a foreign exchange student, and your father hasn't been in the city for long. How did you bribe the police? Since you're already here, I'm not afraid to tell you. Sanson Corporation has the support of the Harrell family. It doesn't matter, even if you're affiliated with the Wyvern Group. So it was the Harrell family. It's not just you. Your wife will also fall into our hands soon. She'll definitely go to my dad and plead with him. Maybe your wife is already in my dad's bed. Archie was right. After Stephen was taken by the police officers, Kim was anxious and gave Thomas a call. He gave her the same condition as before. To save Stephen, Kim could only agree. She was currently on her way to Sanson Corporation. From today onwards, Sanson Corporation will no longer have a place in Santa Ana. Stephen's tone was ice cold. Save it. You should think about your own situation first,
Archie said. "Officers, what are you waiting for? Get to it!" The police officers rushed over with their batons raised. In an instant, Stephen took them down. Archie took a cautious step back. His hand trembled as he made a call. "Hello, Mr. Madden? There's a suspect attacking the police in the interrogation room." Archie forced himself to look up after ending the call. He met Stephen's eyes. "Why don't you stay and wait for Mr. Madden? He's the police commissioner." "Sure, I'll wait for him." Soon, Mr. Madden arrived with a large group of police officers. Archie pointed at Stephen. "He attacked the police. Hurry up and arrest him." The moment Mr. Madden's gaze fell on Stephen, his heart dropped. Good heavens, what was going on? What were these bastards up to? Why did they detain him? The celebration to welcome the commander-in-chief was coming up, and many of the higher-ups in the city had been shown Stephen's picture. Mr. Madden waved his hand. "Restrain him." The police officers behind him stepped out and grabbed Archie. He started struggling. "Mr. Madden, what are you doing? You've got the wrong person." Mr. Madden stared at Archie. "No, I haven't made a mistake. You're really blind. Do you know who you're messing with?" "I know Stephen's background. Andy Harrell is on a much higher level than him, and he's supporting me and Sanson Corporation." "Andy Harrell? In front of Mr. Adams, the richest man in Santa Ana is nothing more than dust. Listen up. This is the commander-in-chief. Archie, you harassed Mr. Adams' friend, and you even picked a fight with him and accused him of assault. Your academic career is over." A police officer rushed over. "Mr. Madden, the city patrol officer, the deputy patrol officer, and the others have arrived." "They must be here for the commander-in-chief," Mr. Madden said nervously. Letting the commander-in-chief become a suspect and be detained in the interrogation room was considered a huge dereliction of duty. Archie's mind short-circuited when the leaders of the city greeted Stephen respectfully. His life was over. At Sanson Corporation, Thomas stood in front of the window of Hugo's office and looked down. Kim was at the entrance of the building. Hugo was standing behind Thomas. "She's here. In less than 15 minutes, she'll be yours." 2 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. It was Kim. Hugo welcomed her in and left the room to give them some privacy. "Miss Kim, I'll get straight to the point," Thomas said. "I prefer a more active woman. The more active you are, the safer your husband will be. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?" "I understand." Kim was reluctant, but in order to save Stephen, she was willing to sacrifice herself. The door slammed open, and Hugo rushed back into the room. "This is bad, Mr. Thomas." Thomas was annoyed at the interruption. "What is it? Can it be more important than what I'm in the middle of?" Under normal circumstances, Hugo would quietly leave the room, but this was an urgent matter. He explained the situation in one breath. "We've just received a document from the Bureau of Economics saying that Sanson Corporation is suspected of accepting bribes worth more than $10 million. There's also a notice from the Tax Bureau saying that we've been evading up to $10 million in taxes. We are suspected of implementing child labor, and people from the Bureau of Labor are here. There are police cars outside. We're suspected of economic fraud, and they would like to conduct a thorough investigation." Thomas hurried to the window. Sure enough, several police cars were waiting in front of the entrance. The sirens blared. A knock sounded on the door before a group of police officers broke into the room. They held up their arrest warrants. "You've been suspected of multiple economic fraud cases as well as obstruction of justice. You're under arrest." Just as the police officer was putting handcuffs on Thomas, a city official arrived. He handed over a notice. "Sanson Corporation's operations will be halted." Thomas struggled, but the police officer held him in place. "I want to call my father." The police agreed to his request. When the call went through, Thomas's father didn't ask any questions and began scolding him.
"Do you know who you've messed with? I didn't send you to Santa Ana to fool around with the Grand Palace Master's wife."
Thomas glanced at Kim. Was his father referring to her? Was she the Grand Palace Master's wife? From now on, you and your stupid son have nothing to do with us." Thomas's father hung up. His words were equivalent to kicking Thomas and Archie out of the family. The news of Sanson Corporation closing its branch in Santa Ana swept across the city and soon reached the Harrell family. "How did Sanson Corporation disappear in one night?" Andy asked. "There's no update from Thomas either. Isn't that weird?"
"Don't tell me Stephen was behind it," Tanya said. "We were only planning to use Thomas to deal with Kim's new company. But right after that, Sanson Corporation withdrew from the city. This is too much of a coincidence."
"Even I'm not capable of that," Andy muttered. "How could Stephen achieve something like that? I don't think this is a coincidence. There's someone powerful working behind the scenes."
"Are you talking about the Wyvern Group?" Tanya asked.
Andy nodded. "Either way, Thomas and his son were supposed to be under my protection. Stephen knows he's valued by the owner of the Wyvern Group, so he used his influence to shut down Sanson Corporation's Santa Ana branch. This is an insult to our family." "Stephen killed my friend right in front of me at the restaurant," Bradley added. "Yes, I remember that. We have to give him a warning. Otherwise, he'll continue to do whatever he wants against our family."
"Grandpa, I'll bring my subordinates to Riverview Villa," Tanya said.
"Okay." Andy was confident in her abilities. "Stephen's not the only one who needs a warning. I'll be heading to the Haynes family's villa," Bradley said. "I'll come with you," Andy said. When the three of them were about to head out, Andy received news that Zachary Velez, one of the 4 great generals who served as the commander-in-chief, had just returned from civil aviation and came to Santa Ana to attend the celebration. "Bradley, go with Tanya. Zachary's at the airport. I have to take this opportunity to welcome him to the city. We can bridge the gap between us and the commander-in-chief. There's no time to lose." The Harrell family's subordinates were divided into 3 groups. Tanya brought more than 100 people to Riverview Villa, while Bradley brought his own group of similar strength to meet with the Haynes family. As for Andy, he was riding in an ordinary car despite their family's wide selection of luxury cars. Zachary had come by himself, and he wasn't fond of drawing attention to himself. He preferred to keep a low profile. In the car, Andy received a picture of Zachary from one of his connections in the city. When he arrived at the airport, he recognized Zachary with one glance. A man wearing sunglasses was pulling a suitcase behind him. Andy went up to him. "Hello, Mr. Velez. It's nice to meet you. I'm Andy Harrell." Zachary gave Andy a confused look. "You know who I am?" "Yes. I heard you came to Santa Ana to attend the celebration for the commander-in-chief. You're not familiar with these parts, so as the wealthiest person in the city, I wanted to show you around so you could familiarize yourself with the area." After a pause, Zachary said, "That's not a bad idea." Andy was glad that Zachary agreed. If he could build a friendly relationship with one of the 4 great generals, he would eventually be able to get to know the commander-in-chief. Then, he would take advantage of the situation and introduce Tanya to him. If a relationship between the commander-in-chief and Tanya worked out, then the Harrell family's status in the city would skyrocket. Andy was full of smiles as he led Zachary to his car. "If you've booked a hotel, I can take you there, but if you haven't, I can arrange a place for you to stay." Zachary had come to Santa Ana for Stephen. That was why he'd never considered staying at a hotel. "No, I haven't booked one." "If you don't mind, would you like to stay at one of my family's hotels?" Andy suggested. "I can assure you it'll be a comfortable stay." "All right, you make the arrangements." Soldiers like Zachary weren't very particular about their homes. "After you rest up, I can show you around the city at night. It's a worthwhile experience," Andy said. "Thank you, but the reason I came to Santa Ana is to attend the celebration, and the second reason is to visit my relatives." "You have relatives in Santa Ana. I may not know who they are, but I'm acquainted with many people in this city. Maybe I've met them before." Zachary cleared his throat and interrupted him. "It's not polite for someone of your status to pry into my privacy, don't you think?" Andy snapped his mouth shut and hurriedly apologized. Relatives of soldiers were classified, especially for soldiers at Zachary's level. The relatives' identities were confidential and well protected. This was a close call. He would have been in trouble if he were more convicted of prying into national secrets. However, Zachary continued, you can take me to my relatives' neighborhood. Andy's face lit up. He was confident that knowing the location of his relatives' neighborhood would be enough to identify them. To avoid arousing suspicion, Andy didn't accompany him. He asked his driver to take Zachary there. When Zachary got out of the car, the driver made a call to report.
Mr. Andy, Zachary is heading in the direction of Riverview Villa.
Andy wasn't expecting that. Stephen lived there with Kim and her family. He cursed when he remembered something. Tanya was heading to Riverview Villa to look for Stephen. Zachary might misunderstand if he saw them together and told the commander-in-chief. Andy had to stop her. The so-called relative that Zachary spoke of was actually Stephen. When he arrived at Riverview Villa, Tanya wasn't there yet. She and her subordinates were stuck in traffic. Zachary gave Stephen a hug as soon as he opened the door. Stephen was very surprised to see him. He bumped Zachary's fist with a smile. Why'd you come to Santa Ana all of a sudden? I haven't seen you in a while. You've grown stronger again. I'm here to attend the celebration, but that's not the only reason. If our enemies on the border think we've let down our guard, they'll increase their numbers and come at us in waves. When they head deeper into our territory, I'll be on the front lines and defeat them all in one fell swoop. Stephen nodded proudly. You've come a long way. You're braver and even better at scheming than back then. This is all because of your guidance, Mr. Adams, Zachary said with a smile. They were interrupted when Tanya and her subordinates made their appearance. They surrounded Stephen and Zachary. Stephen shot her a sidelong glance. Miss Tanya, what are you doing here with so many people? Stephen, because of you, the Harrell family has been embarrassed time and time again. Don't think you can do whatever you want just because you have the support of the Wyvern Group. If you don't give me an acceptable explanation today, I won't be letting this go. Zachary recalled the man he'd met at the airport. His surname was also Harrell. Are you related to Andy Harrell? That's right, Tanya said proudly. If that's the case, then please do me a favor and forget about your grudge. Zachary couldn't let Stephen's identity be exposed. Judging from his brief encounter with Andy, he didn't think he was that bad of a person. If he asked Andy to let this go, he would probably agree. Tanya sized him up. He appeared to be around the same age as Stephen, and his attire was casual and ordinary. Although there was a subtle, dangerous look in his eyes. Who do you think you are to ask me for a favor? Watch your tone, Stephen said coldly. He fixed her with a bone-chilling glare. Tanya, you'd better remember this. Don't disrespect or look down on the people around me. Zachary had witnessed a similar scene before. Stephen had always been protective of his comrades. Tanya was caught off guard by his unnerving stare, but she quickly recovered. She gestured to her subordinates. Get him. Andy, who had just arrived, happened to see Tanya's conflict with Zachary from his car. He pushed open the door and ran over. All of you, stop. Tanya's subordinates stopped in their tracks. Grandpa, you're finally here. Tanya motioned to the man standing next to Stephen. Do you know who he is? He asked me for a ridiculous favor. Shut your mouth. Tanya swallowed her words. What had she done wrong? Andy couldn't believe this. His granddaughter was disrespecting Zachary in public. The effort he put into giving Zachary a good impression of his family was instantly wasted. I'm really sorry, Andy said. My granddaughter doesn't know your identity. I hope you can forgive her for offending you. Zachary narrowed his eyes. Mr. Andy, it seems like your granddaughter is quick to resort to violence. If you didn't come in time, we would have been beaten up by her people. Andy forced a laugh. Surely you must be joking. He waved at Tanya. What are you standing there for? Apologize to Mr. Velez and admit your mistake. Tanya finally realized the identity of the man who was standing next to Stephen. He was Major General Zachary Velez, one of the 4 great generals. She quickly went up to him and apologized. Zachary gestured to Stephen. The person you should apologize to isn't me, but him. Andy felt uneasy when Zachary stood up for Stephen. Was Stephen his relative?
May I ask who he is?
I met him by chance. I'm not familiar with this area. While I was walking around trying to find my way, he happened to be passing by, so I asked him for directions. Zachary's answer reassured Andy. Thankfully, they weren't relatives. Otherwise, his heart would have given out. I don't care what kind of deep grudge you and your family have against this gentleman, but for my sake, please forget about it. The richest man in Santa Ana will do me this favor, won't you?
Of course, Andy said. I'm sorry to bother you both. We'll be leaving now.
Without wasting a second, Andy left with Tanya and their 100 subordinates. Kim came out of the house. Stephen, why is it so noisy out here? The insulation at Riverview Villa made the house almost soundproof. Kim, Natalie, and Kyle heard soft voices outside, but for the most part, they didn't know what happened.
My friend came to see me, Stephen said. His name is Zachary. We used to work together.
Kim introduced herself and ushered them inside the house. From the way Zachary was dressed, he didn't look that wealthy. Maybe they would have some common ground compared to the obnoxious, spoiled rich people she'd dealt with recently. Kim decided to head out and buy some groceries to prepare a meal for Stephen and his friend so they could have time to catch up. Andy and Tanya returned home with their subordinates.
Grandpa, are we letting this go? Just like that? Tanya asked.
Of course not. But Tanya, if we insisted on going through with our plan, Zachary would have stepped in. Besides, I'll be introducing you to the Commander-in-Chief soon.
The Commander-in-Chief was considered a hero, and he was every girl's idol. Tanya was no exception.
If you marry the Commander, I'll be his grandfather-in-law. When that happens, we can deal with whomever we want. Even Zachary will have to listen to us.
Andy turned to his assistant.
Have you found Zachary's relatives?
No, his family is confidential. We can't look into them with our resources.
It's fine if you can't find anything. We may not be able to deal with Stephen for the time being, but we still have the Haynes family as our trump card.
At this time, Bradley was leading a large group of people to the Haynes family's villa. The Haynes family was in chaos. What? Stephen messed with Andy Harrell? He's lost his mind. Andy's son Bradley is asking for him. Why did he involve our family? Hurry up and call Kim and ask her to come and deal with it. The richest man in Santa Ana, Andy Harrell, was in existence that they could not afford to offend. Kim, who was buying groceries at the supermarket, received a call from Mavis and hurried over.
Grandpa, Grandma, you have to help Stephen.
Mavis pursed her lips.
How are we supposed to help? Do you think our family can defeat the Harrell family?
That was true. The Haynes family had no way of competing against the Harrell family, not to mention helping Stephen out of this predicament. But there has to be something we can do to lessen the severity, Kim said. Cohen came forward and whispered a few words to Gordon. Gordon nodded. Kim, we can help Stephen, but only once. I remember that during the Harrell family's annual meeting 2 years ago, Andy issued a pardon to all of the families who participated in the meeting. If any of us are ever in conflict with the Harrell family, we would be pardoned. But this pardon can only be used once. We can't use it willy-nilly. The business world is like a battlefield. Going up against the Harrell family is asking for death. But with this pardon, we can protect our family once. Of course, Kim understood the underlying meaning behind Gordon's words. Grandpa, just tell me, what do you want in exchange for helping Stephen?
My condition is actually very simple. I would like for you to hand over Lunaria.
Although Lunaria had just been established, it had received a large loan from the bank. The Wyvern Group had also invested $1 billion. When Lunaria was in conflict with Sanson Corporation, the latter disappeared from Santa Ana overnight. It was a company with great potential, and it would be a great asset to the Haynes family. Lunaria was Kim's hard work. While she had received a large investment, everything else was her own achievement. Moreover, her company's prospects were on the rise.
If you don't want to, then forget it, Gordon said. We won't be helping Stephen. We're no match for the Harrell family anyway.
Kim hadn't expected Gordon to force her to hand over Lunaria, but thinking of Stephen's current situation, she gritted her teeth and made up her mind. Okay, I'll give it to you.
You said it yourself. You can't go back on your word.
Mavis took out a pen and a piece of paper and passed them to Kim.
Write it down. After Mr. Bradley leaves, we'll settle the paperwork and the change in shares.
Kim could only give them what they wanted. After getting her handwritten guarantee, Gordon and Mavis went downstairs to meet with Bradley.
During the Harrell family's annual meeting 3 years ago, we received a special pardon. If we're ever in conflict with your family, we'll be pardoned once. Do you remember that?
Bradley nodded.
That did happen. Are you planning to use that opportunity right now? Yes, we'll be using this pardon for Stephen. Gordon, this is a rare and precious opportunity. Are you sure you want to waste it on Stephen, your grandson-in-law? Stephen is my granddaughter's husband, and he's also a member of the Haynes family.
Bradley didn't press Gordon to change his mind.
All right, if that's the case, I'll withdraw. However, you should remember that there will be no more pardons after this. Next time, you won't be as lucky.
Bradley turned and left with his subordinates. Kim kept her promise and went to the Industrial and Commercial Bureau with the Haynes family to take care of the Lunaria's change in shares. Gordon was thrilled upon seeing Kim's name changed to his own on Lunaria's business certificate. Acquiring Lunaria had increased the influence of the Haynes family in an instant. Although their family couldn't be compared to the top families in Santa Ana, they were steadily rising in status.
Kim, how did Stephen seduce you? You were willing to give up Lunaria, which is worth more than $2 billion on the market, for someone like him,
Mavis said. Cohen spoke up. Without Lunaria, Kim is penniless. Their family lives in a luxury villa, and without a stable source of income, the monthly rent alone is enough to make them live on the streets. Also, Natalie is employed, and Kyle is addicted to gambling. A family like that is no longer worthy of being one of us. I suggest removing Kim's family from the Haynes family altogether.
Uncle Cohen, what right do you have to kick us out? Kim demanded. We've never done anything wrong to the Haynes family. Being removed from the family was a serious matter. Since Kim had just given up Lunaria, Cohen would take his chance to get rid of them for good. Even before today, you've let us down multiple times. You let Stephen trick you into leaving Haynes Industries and starting your own company. You even became our competitor. That alone is already outrageous. Now, you're even less qualified to be a member of our family.
Yes, I agree, Kelly's husband said.
I also agree, Mark said. With Kim's family gone, that would mean one less competitor for the Haynes family's assets.
Gordon and Mavis agreed with the majority.
Since everyone is in agreement, then this matter has been decided. Kim, go home and inform your parents. Ask them to meet with us 3 days from now. We'll be officially announcing your family's expulsion.
Kim was in a daze as she stepped out into the sunlight after leaving the villa. Not only was Lunaria no longer hers, but she and her family had also lost the qualifications to be a part of the Haynes family. When Kim went home, she informed everyone of what had happened.
This is ridiculous.
Kyle slammed his hand on the table and stood up. He shouted at Stephen.
This is all your fault. In order to save you, she lost her company and got us kicked out of the Haynes family. I didn't need to be saved. It's just Andy Harrell. He's no match for me. Why would we need the Haynes family's help? Kim, you've been fooled.
This time, it was Natalie's turn to yell at Stephen.
What are you talking about? Not a word of gratitude, even though Kim did all of this just to help you. And you, she looked at Zachary. What's wrong with your taste in friends? One look and you can tell that he's a jinx. He's been causing all kinds of problems ever since he entered our family.
Natalie's words put Zachary in an awkward position. Stephen sighed helplessly.
Mom, that's not what I meant. Even if the Haynes family has Lunaria, they can't move the funds. I promise that after we're removed from the family tree, they'll come and beg us to join their family again. Why hasn't your habit of bragging changed at all? Lunaria's representative has changed. Why wouldn't they be able to use the funds? And why would they come and beg us for anything?
Forget it. Stop arguing, Kyle said impatiently. We should think of a way to get out of this. If they were really kicked out of the Haynes family, their reputation would take a nosedive. But no matter how much they racked their brains, they couldn't come up with a solution. This was Stephen's family affair, so Zachary couldn't get involved. He came up with an excuse and left the house. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. It was time for the Haynes family to officially announce the removal of Natalie's family from their family tree. Gordon and Mavis had 5 daughters, and each of them had 1 daughter. Once it was confirmed who would inherit the family business, their surname would be changed to Haynes. This would be considered the continuation of the Haynes family's lineage.
Since everyone is here, let's begin,
Mavis said.
Wait, Natalie said. Mom, Dad, according to our family's rules, only those who have committed unforgivable crimes will be expelled from the family. I want to know what kind of heinous crimes our family has committed for you to kick us out.
Cohen sneered. Is there a need to ask? An outsider persuaded Kim to leave Haynes Industries and set up her own company. She became our competitor. That's enough to expel your family.
Is that it? Kyle shot back. Kim started Lunaria because you kept restricting her from authority at Haynes Industries. And you even kept threatening her to give up her position if she didn't get a divorce. You left Kim with no choice but to start her own company. Also, she's made so much progress on her own. You should be happy for her.
Mavis glared at Kyle.
That's nonsense. What if Kim's actions influence my family later down the line? The Haynes family would fall apart. If you're afraid of being influenced by my daughter, you should first think about whether you and your family have the required skills to do what she did.
Mavis was at a loss for words. When she raised her cane, Kyle hid behind Stephen and continued.
Last time, when Linda took the money from the company, you only removed her from her position and told her to return it. What right do you have to remove our family? If you ask me, you're a family of double standards and bias.
Mavis's blood boiled.
Shut up, you gambling addict.
Cohen took the opportunity to fan the flames. Did everyone see that? Their family has already reached this point. Instead of repenting, they're talking back. They're clearly looking down on us. Natalie shot Kyle a glare.
Stop talking.
Kyle shrunk back and held his tongue. Cohen noticed Stephen staring at him. What's wrong, Stephen? Are you not convinced? Because of what happened to Linda, he hated Stephen to the bone.
I am indeed not convinced. You've laid out a well-thought-out plan. You deceived Kim using the special pardon from the Harrell family. Then, because Lunaria no longer belongs to her, we're considered penniless and in a financial crisis. This would be the perfect chance to kick us out. Lastly, with Kim out of the way, that's one less contender for the family's assets. Isn't that right, Uncle Cohen?
Cohen maintained his composure, even though he was nervous. Kim's useless husband had seen through his entire plan. He'd underestimated him. I had no choice. You have to understand that. Besides, our Haynes family is of the same mind. Don't think you can sow discord between us with a few words. Gordon took the lead and applauded Cohen.
Well said.
Everyone from the Haynes family followed suit. After the applause died down, Gordon continued.
It doesn't matter if you're convinced or not. The end result won't change. I hereby declare that from today onwards, Natalie and her family will be removed from the Haynes family. They will no longer be related to us. From now on, we're strangers. Let's go our separate ways.
As soon as Gordon finished speaking, the 4 of them were kicked out of the house and left alone on the streets like stray dogs. Natalie lost control of her emotions and started to cry.
Dad, the mom, don't be upset, Stephen said. It's a good thing that we're not one of them anymore. We're strangers now. We won't have to worry about living up to their expectations or take them into consideration when we're doing business.
Natalie looked up with tears in her eyes.
Kim's company is theirs now. Lunaria was worth several $1 billion, but it's not ours anymore. What business do we have?
Kyle gave Stephen a disdainful look. If it weren't for you, Kim wouldn't have handed over her company. You've always been a jinx." Stephen shrugged.
"This has nothing to do with me. I never needed the Haynes family's help to deal with Andy Harrell in the first place, okay?"
So it's all my fault. Kim had to admit that she'd made an impulsive mistake in her panic, but she'd sacrificed so much to help Stephen. She hadn't done it for gratitude, but he didn't seem to think much of it. Instead, he was making sarcastic remarks.
"Sorry, Kim, that's not what I meant," Stephen said quickly. "I know you did it for me. That's why you fell into their trap. But don't worry, it won't be long before the Haynes family comes to beg you."
"Why would they be begging in front of me?" Kim asked, confused.
"They'll take the initiative and ask you to join the Haynes family and take charge of Lunaria again."
Natalie shook her head.
"You're crazy. We should take you to the hospital to cure your habit of bluffing and getting caught up in your delusions."
Kyle agreed. The Haynes family was thrilled after kicking Natalie's family out. Cohen was especially triumphant. "We've finally gotten rid of the plague. Why don't we celebrate at Lunaria?" "Good idea," Kelly's husband said. "While we're here, let's show the upper management the faces of the company's new shareholders." The members of the Haynes family set out and headed to Lunaria. 8 luxury cars stopped in front of the entrance to Lunaria's building as if they were on a tour. When Gordon displayed the statement of changes in equity, the receptionist greeted him respectfully. She welcomed all of them into the CEO's office and served them an expensive brand of tea. Cohen sat back on the couch and took a sip. "I didn't expect Kim to be so particular." "No matter how meticulous she is, this place belongs to us now," Kelly's husband said. Gordon sat on Kim's chair, enjoying his new position. Gianna was responsible for overseeing the company's projects. "Lunaria is developing a park in the suburbs. The city considers it an important project. We have the capital to invest in it. If we take over the project now, we'll make a lot of money." Gordon nodded in satisfaction. "Inform Lunaria's upper management and ask them to come to the conference room. We'll introduce ourselves as their bosses." "Okay, I'll notify them right now." Just as Gianna was about to leave, Megan ran into the room. "Lunaria's finance department suddenly quit. They didn't even ask for their pay." Before Megan could finish, Kelly also rushed in. "What's going on? When I announced that I'd be taking over the human resources department, the employees vanished. They collectively quit without asking for their pay." Gianna received a phone call.
"Did the quality assurance department also quit their jobs?"
Gordon asked. "Yes, they did," Gianna confirmed. Gordon frowned.
"What are they up to? Is this a collective strike?"
"If this many employees leave at the same time, it'll be hard for Lunaria's operations to continue,"
Mavis said. Just as the Haynes family was having a headache, an uninvited guest arrived. "You must be the CEO of Haynes Industries, correct? Let me introduce myself. I'm the landlord of this building. Lunaria rented this building for $100 million. Miss Kim has paid a down payment of $30 million. According to the contract, I'm here to collect the final payment of $70 million. Gordon was stunned. "A $70 million rent?" Haynes Industries' annual profit was only a little more than $100 million, which was barely enough to cover the rental costs of Lunaria's building.
"You and Kim signed the contract. What does this have to do with us? If you want the rent, ask Kim for it,"
Mavis said shamelessly. "From what I know, Haynes Industries recently acquired Lunaria. According to the law, this has nothing to do with Miss Kim. Lunaria is yours, and you are required to pay the rent. If you insist on refusing, I'll see you in court. I believe that with the lease contract in my hands and the certificate for Lunaria's ownership in your possession, the court will tell you to pay the $70 million. As someone who had been in the business industry for decades, Gordon knew very well what the landlord said was true.
"That's enough. I'll give you the money, but $70 million is a lot. We can't pay you everything right now. Can you let us pay it off in installments?"
"No. According to the contract, it must be paid in full. If not, it'll be considered a breach of contract, and you will have to pay an additional 1% penalty. The landlord noticed the helpless look on Gordon's face. It looks like I came at the wrong time. How about this? I'll give you 7 days. If you don't give me the final payment after 7 days, we will meet in court. After the landlord left, another group of people arrived unannounced. Gordon felt his blood pressure rising. What are all these people doing here? Because of Lunaria's change in equity, the bank has decided to temporarily withdraw $300 million worth of investment. They've sent people to investigate and complete the process. Someone's here for the $10 million that Lunaria owes them. Also, one of Lunaria's partnerships said that according to the contract, we were supposed to send them the funds yesterday. But because of the change in shares, this was delayed. They're accusing us of breach of contract, and they're asking for $5 million in compensation. The Wyvern Group just sent a letter saying they want to withdraw their investment of $1 billion. Bad news came, one after another, and the expressions of the Haynes family gradually darkened. Gordon had originally planned to reap Lunaria's benefits after taking it from Kim, but he hadn't expected to be thrown into such a mess. The debts they owed were enormous. Before they could catch their breath, another group of people arrived. They were construction workers, and they stood in front of the building, shouting loudly. Who are they? They're working on the suburban park project, Gianna explained. Because Lunaria couldn't transfer them their pay at the beginning, Kim promised that she would give them the money within 3 months. They should have been paid yesterday, but because of the change in shares, this matter was delayed. Since Kim's the one who owes them their pay, we'll tell them to ask her for it, Gordon said. Even if he could resolve the financial crisis in front of him, he couldn't guarantee that he would have enough to pay the construction workers. They deserved their hard-earned money. If they didn't give it to them, they would protest with their lives on the line. Gordon led everyone downstairs to confront the construction workers. Kim owes you money, not us. You should look for her. The construction worker representing the group said, Nonsense. This has nothing to do with Miss Kim. Don't look down on us just because we don't understand all the business jargon. You took over Lunaria, and you're the boss. You will be paying for our work as promised. If you go back on your word, no one will be able to leave today. They started chanting, Pay up, pay up. The commotion attracted the attention of passerbys. Mavis gave Gordon a worried look. We can't let them continue. If we don't resolve this properly, our reputation will be ruined, even though we just took over. Then what should we do? Mavis sighed. Let's ask them how much we owe them. If it's not much, we'll pay them before taking care of the other issues. The longer the confrontation, the more unfavorable the situation will be for us. All right, that's the only thing we can do for now. Gordon faced the construction workers. How much do we owe you? The worker in the front handed him a receipt. $5 million. This is the receipt from Miss Kim. All the information is written here. Gordon felt like he was being bled dry. After taking over Lunaria, he hadn't received a single cent in profit. Instead, he was faced with multiple financial issues, and now he would be losing $5 million. Fortunately, $5 million was a reasonable amount. After giving the construction workers their pay, they were satisfied and left. With them gone, the only people remaining in Lunaria's building were the Haynes family. Most of the employees had quit, and Lunaria's operations had come to a stop. Besides those who had paid a visit earlier, many other businesses caught wind of the news, and they requested to terminate their partnership. We only acknowledge Miss Kim as the CEO. Since she's no longer around, there's no need for us to continue working together. Gianna tried to persuade them to stay, but they always ended up saying the same thing before ending the call. Don't you think something strange is going on? Think about it. Lunaria is worth more than $2 billion, but Kim was willing to hand it over just to help Steven. What are you trying to say, Cohen? Gordon asked. I think this is a trap that Kim set up. Lunaria appears to have a bright future on the surface, but it's actually a huge mess. With these debts, Kim herself might have been in a tight spot. And by coincidence, Steven offended Andy Harrell, so she took the chance and pushed her mess of a company onto us.
That has to be it, Mavis said.
I can't believe she's this cunning, Gordon said. Edward, who had been watching silently from the sidelines with his girlfriend, Sophia, spoke up. But you're the ones who demanded Kim give you her company. Gordon and Mavis averted their gazes awkwardly. That was true. Cohen had a scheming look in his eyes. He used his experience as a government official to dispel the doubts in the air. Edward, you're still young. You're a soldier in the military. You don't understand the evils of society. You can't judge a person based on their appearances alone. After what happened today, it's clear what kind of person Kim really is.
That's right, Sophia said. Edward, what's wrong with you? You've been speaking up for Stephen and Kim's family recently.
I told you. I just think you guys should treat them better. After all, we are family.
Since when are they our family?
Cohen, what should we do now? Gordon asked. They'd lost $5 million, and many companies were lining up to rush their compensation. If he added up all the money, they had a debt of more than $100 million. Unlike his attitude from earlier this morning, Gordon was now thinking of a way to get rid of Lunaria. The solution isn't as complicated as it seems, Cohen said. We'll let Kim come back and take charge of the company again. Our debts will naturally go back to her.
Easier said than done, Sophia said. Did you forget? We kicked out Kim and her family this morning.
Gordon was already regretting his decision. Cohen smiled. So what? We can just restore their position in the family. Wouldn't that be the end of it? Sophia was skeptical.
Will they accept it?
Of course they will. Kim's family has just been kicked to the curb, and they're currently upset. If we tell them that we want them back, they'll accept in a heartbeat. Then we'll lay down some conditions, like letting Kim take charge of Lunaria again. Why would they refuse? That makes sense, as expected of someone who works in the government. Your ideas are brilliant, Kelly's husband praised. I also think it's a good idea, Gordon said. Although it's a bit embarrassing for us to ask them to come back. To ensure we're not suffering any major losses, this is the only thing we can do for now. He picked up his phone and dialed Kim's number. Hi, Kim, it's Grandpa.
What can I do for you?
From Kim's voice, she was obviously not happy to receive a call from him. Gordon tried his best to sound as regretful as possible. It's like this, Kim. I gave it some thought and realized that kicking you and your family out was too much. I'm very sorry. I discussed it with the rest of the family, and we've decided to have you join us again. Kim sounded doubtful.
Is that true?
Of course it is. Can you come to Lunaria? We'll have a proper discussion when you arrive. Stephen's voice sounded from the other end of the line.
There's nothing to discuss.